So, let's kick things off with a simple question. Are you really sitting comfortably? We're about to dive into one of the biggest, most persistent issues in all of cycling. Comfort. Or, let's be honest, the complete lack of it.
Numbness, saddle sores, that nagging back pain. Does any of that sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. If you've put in any real miles, these things probably hit way too close to home. And look, these aren't just little annoyances you should ignore. They're basically your body screaming at you with warning signs.
And for what feels like forever, we've all been told the same thing, right? Oh, it's just part of cycling. You're supposed to just tough it out. That pain is some kind of badge of honor, a sign you're working hard and getting faster.
Well, here's the truth. That pain? It's not a badge of honor. It's a sign that your bike is literally fighting your body. And that fight, it's costing you comfort, it's costing you power, and yeah, it's costing you speed. This isn't about being tough. It's about being smart.
Okay, so let's really dig into the price of that pain. Why does your bike fit matter so much more than you probably think? Because honestly, ignoring this war between your bike and your body, it does a lot more than just make for a miserable ride. We're talking about some pretty serious consequences.
And just look at this list. We're talking increased injury risk, numbness, nerve damage, chronic back pain. And it's not just about comfort, it's about performance. What's crazy is how it all connects. See, a bad fit forces you into this weird, unnatural posture. That strains your muscles and your joints. That strain, it causes the pain and numbness, which then absolutely kills your efficiency, and boom, your performance just tanks. It's this nasty, vicious cycle.
And if you need a number to really drive this home, here it is, 300%. That is the potential increase in pressure on your soft tissue when you just move from the hoods down into an aero position on a standard saddle. I mean, think about that. This isn't just, oh, this is a little uncomfortable. This is pure physiology. You are literally compressing nerves and cutting off blood flow to some really important areas. So, okay, that sounds pretty bad. How in the world do you break that cycle? Well, the answer, the gold standard, is a professional bike fit. So let's do this. Let's pull back the curtain and take a look at what actually goes on inside a fit studio. It's not as intimidating as it sounds, I promise. It's actually this really cool mix of physical therapy and high-tech science. So first, a good fitter just gets to know you, your body. They'll do a physio assessment, check your flexibility, your range of motion, ask about any old injuries. Then comes the cool part, 3D motion analysis. They stick sensors on you to precisely measure how you pedal. And that lets them see all these tiny little issues you'd never spot with the naked eye. After that, it's all about making tiny, data-driven adjustments. A few millimeters here, a degree there. And maybe the most important tool, saddle pressure mapping. It literally gives them a visual map of where all the high-pressure points are.
And does it work? Well, just listen to this. An age group triathlete said that after his fit, the whole 56-mile ride was noticeably so much more comfortable than I could have hoped. I mean, that says it all, right? This isn't just about feeling a tiny bit better. For him, it meant zero lower back pain, no neck stiffness, over a really long race. The proof is right there.
Okay, so that leads us perfectly into our next topic. Let's really zero in on what might just be the single most important piece of gear on your entire bike when it comes to comfort, your saddle. I mean, it's your main contact point with the bike, and getting this one thing right is an absolute game changer.
So you gotta understand why those traditional long-nose saddles can be such a problem, especially when you get low in aero. They basically concentrate all the pressure on sensitive soft tissue, nerves, and blood vessels exactly where you don't want it. But then you have these split-nose saddles. They completely change the game. The whole idea is to transfer your weight away from that soft tissue and onto your pubic arch, which is a bony structure that's actually designed to bear that load. It's a total rethink. But you know, finding that perfect saddle isn't just about picking a split-nose design and calling it a day. The width is super important. It has to be wide enough to actually support your skeleton. The shape has to match your riding style so you're not rubbing and chafing. Even the firmness is this delicate balancing act. If it's too soft, you just sink in and create new pressure points. But if it's too hard, well, it feels like you're sitting on a rock. And of course, having a cutout or a relief channel can make a huge difference.
Okay, a full-on pro bike fit is awesome. But I get it, not everyone could do that right away. So what can you do right now, at home, to start feeling better? Let's talk about 3 of the biggest culprits of discomfort, the most common setup mistakes people make.
Number 1 on the hit list, excess saddle height. Seriously, this is probably the number 1 fitting mistake out there. When your saddle is even a little too high, your hips have to rock back and forth with every single pedal stroke.
And all that rocking, it creates friction, chafing, and just tons of unstable pressure right where you don't want it. It's a disaster for comfort.
All right, culprit number 2 is excess reach. This is when the horizontal distance to your handlebars is just too long. If you find yourself really stretching to get there, your body has to compensate, and it does that by rotating your pelvis forward, which, you guessed it, shoves all your weight onto the narrow nose of the saddle and right onto that soft tissue we've been talking about.
And hot on the heels of that is a very similar problem: excess drop. This is the vertical distance. If your handlebars are way too low compared to your saddle, it creates the exact same problem. It forces that same forward pelvic tilt and puts all that pressure right back on those sensitive areas. So here's a brilliant little mental check for you, courtesy of the cycling legend Bernard Hinnel. He said, you should be able to play a piano keyboard on your handlebars. What he means is, your position needs to be balanced. Your weight should be supported by your saddle and your core muscles, not by jamming all your weight down onto your hands and arms. A simple test? Try to briefly lift your hands and hover them over the bars. If you feel like you're going to fall flat on your face, your balance is off.
All right, let's tackle the final piece of this comfort puzzle: actually picking a new saddle. There is so much advice out there about this, and frankly, some of it is, well, let's just say it doesn't tell the whole story.
So, the answer is just measuring your sit bones, right? I mean, everyone's heard this. You go into the bike shop, they have you sit on one of those memory foam pads, they measure the imprints, and boom, you have the magic number for your saddle width. Easy peasy.
Well, it's a start, but it's definitely not the whole story. Here's the problem. That whole sit bone measurement thing assumes you ride your bike sitting bolt upright at a perfect 90-degree angle, which, unless you're on a city bike, you're not. The second you lean forward into a riding position, your pelvis rotates, and your main contact points shift away from your sit bones and forward onto your pubic rami. That's the front part of your pelvic bone. So, that measurement they took, it's suddenly not so relevant anymore. So, what's the right way to do it? You need a much more complete approach. First, go ahead and get that sit bone measurement. As a baseline, it's not useless. But then, number 2, you have to consider your position. The more aggressive you are, the more you need to saddle with relief up front. Third, and this is huge, perfect your setup before you blame the saddle. Even the world's best saddle will feel awful on a bike that's set up wrong. And finally, there is no way around this. You have to test, and test again. You've got to demo saddles on real long rides to find what truly works for you.
So when you think about it, it all comes down to this question: is your saddle an anchor holding you back? Or is it the engine for your best performance? Right now, it might be a source of pain that's just forcing you to waste energy fighting for comfort. But it could be that stable, solid platform that lets you unlock all your power, all your speed, and most importantly, your comfort. The choice and the solution is totally up to you.